Okay, fire one, motherfuckers. We're running late today because we're fucking tech fucked all over the place.
The gremlins were
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
with us.
That's going to be another movie I tackle at some point. But it's good to be here with the Trash Picture Show once again. Thanks, Marty, for taking the time to. I know there's a huge time difference. And that you're up this late. Just to talk some movies on my show means a lot. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, it's a passion of mine, and good company, so it's well worth it.
I feel the same way, bro. I feel the same way, and I had a real good time when we did Dread. I think we were kind of on the same page with things, and so I'm looking forward to this one again. So, shall we get to it?
Fire away, sir.
So, hold on. Eric's already here, and Eric's always here at the show, and I always appreciate it, man. And he says Marty sacrifices his sleep for these live streams. So, yeah, always appreciate it. And Marty, he was here when we were talking Dread, and I always appreciate you, Eric, stopping by for the shows, and we hope that you get back to your live stream soon. So that'll definitely be cool. So, we're here to talk. We're here to talk Jeepers Creepers. And I couldn't believe when I actually looked, this movie is 20 years old.
Yeah, it's fucking... I remember I done my kind of Leaving Cert exams the year this came out. I finished high school. And I was like, Christ, that makes me feel fucking old. I remember going to see this in the cinema at the time.
I don't think that I saw... I'm pretty positive I didn't see it in the cinema, but... It didn't occur to I knew it. I've been, a fan of it for a long time, but 20 years, Jesus Christ, that's quite a while. Now, we got 20 years coming up and directed by Victor Salva. If you want to talk about Salva, go right ahead. I mean, it's sort of part of the storyline, because, I tried to watch this with his audio commentary the other day. And it's his voice is a little off-putting.
Look, we're focusing on the film today. I will be totally 100% honest. The history behind the guy has definitely kind of affected my opinion of this movie. There is good to be had in this movie. It's not perfect, but I will admit that some of the shit that came out about the guy has skewed my opinion on it.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's Hollywood, though, I guess.
I was having this conversation. We were talking about it with Knight last night, and the other guys on the panel. After we got off the stream, after we got off the broadcast, we stayed in the stream, and we were talking about it. And I think I had said this to you also at one time. It's just my opinion, but I think it holds up. I think fucked up people make really good art. Or they can make the best art.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Van Gogh cutting off his ear. You got Polanski, who has, a library of fucking movies. Knight and I were talking about Rosemary's Baby last night. And I only saw that for the first time within the past 5 years or so, probably less. And you can just feel the tension coming out of the television set. I was like, what the hell kind of vibe is this in a movie? If you get to like a Chris Farley, these people just seem to, it's very hard. And I was saying it's much harder to get up every day, to go to work, to come home, be with your family. That's hard to do decade after decade, day after day. But some people are geared towards this stuff. And unfortunately, a lot of them seem to have a hole in them that they constantly need to feed. And sometimes it's like, self-destructive, like a Chris Farley type, but sometimes it's fucked up shit like this.
Yeah, like the thing is, I think we as a society do have to, and I'm not condoning it, but we as a society have to fucking maybe sometimes separate the art from the artist. If I wasn't able to do that, I would not be able to read H.P. Lovecraft. Lovecraft was a fucking absolute racist piece
Oh
of
yeah,
shit.
absolutely.
But
Yeah.
he wrote some fucking absolutely awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's the trade-off, like, you know.
Look at Mel Gibson. Mel Gibson is a hell of a fucking filmmaker. I mean, but he just happens to be like, I guess he's an anti-Semite. I mean, and he ended up getting like blacklisted for like 10 or 15 years until I guess they let him back in, and he made that Hacksaw Ridge movie. But I mean, have you seen that movie, The Passion of the Christ?
I have. I just the last couple of minutes of that movie, I was like, the dude is weird. There's some catharsis there for the Jewish community near the end. I'm like, what the fuck? I think he's got some unbridled fucking shit going on.
Well, it's funny because, but I mean, like visually, that might be the greatest movie I've ever seen.
Visually, it's stunning.
And it's not even like, I think his initial idea was to release it without subtitles. Like you would just have to follow in the Aramaic, but I mean, that's the point. He felt that visually it was so powerful, you didn't actually need a dialogue that you could understand.
Yeah.
And he was probably right.
Like, again, fucking, I don't know. I get the point he was trying to make. At the same time, I don't know, was he trying to fucking portray the Jewish Orthodox Church at the time as insanely cruel? Because, I mean, Jesus, like, he that was a snuff movie by the last 5 minutes.
There wasn't I mean, and maybe in his, Opus Dei Catholicism sort of world viewpoint, maybe my impression was that was his viewpoint for what a human body would look like if it decided to absorb all the sin in the world. I mean, there was no skin left on Jim Caviezel. Yeah. There was no flesh left on his body. They had flayed like his whole fucking body. But I mean, he's a hell of the point I'm making, and what you were saying earlier too, is just, you separate the art from the artist within reason, within reason. But this guy, that's another thing entirely, but I guess we are here talking about his movie. So here's a quick question. I don't remember this. Was this my idea or yours?
I think this was your idea. Again, I don't have any trepidation about doing the movie. It's just, it wouldn't be my favorite. Right. And again, if it had been a couple of years ago, I probably would have been a lot more, dare I say, kind of embracing of the movie. But just with some of the shit that came out when I found out about it, I'm like, eh. But again, at the end of the day, as I was saying, you got to separate the art from the artist if you want to have a fair and concise viewpoint. We're looking at the movie. We're not looking at the person.
Yeah, we're not looking at the director. So, I mean, the action in this movie takes off in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
With this, these two kids, Justin Long, and I can't remember the girl who plays his sister, a brother and sister, team that are driving home from college. They're kids. They're having, 20-something brother-sister arguments. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this fucking hellish truck just starts riding their ass. And it's like the truck from hell. It's huge and it's old and it looks it's a very intimidating looking truck that just appears out of nowhere. It's running them off the road. It's got this very setting, horn going at it. And I mean, within the first 5 minutes, you're like, what the hell is this? Because I didn't understand a great deal the first time I saw it of what the movie was about. It's just Jeepers Creepers, and it's a horror movie. Now, what I didn't know was that this is perhaps loosely based on a real life story. Did you know that?
I didn't know that. I initially thought that Salva was picking out some of his favorite kind of horrors and making a hybrid, which I'll get to.
There was a real life case of this man. His name was Dennis Depew, and Dennis Depew was a man who had apparently killed his wife, was driving a truck, and was spotted by a real-life brother and sister dumping her body, which was wrapped up in a sheet, in an old abandoned church. This happened like in This happened in like 91, and it was on a television program here in America called Unsolved Mysteries. And the brother and sister, obviously, he wasn't a supernatural. He was just an evil, murdering bastard. The brother and sister ended up calling the police, and I believe they caught him. But then before I think they could take him into custody, he ended up committing suicide.
Okay, well,
so
not what he deserved.
Yeah. Hold on, Eric's here. If you can't separate art from artist, there's a lot of movies, music, and more that you'll not be able to enjoy anymore. Yeah, it's pretty much. Yeah, you're right. It's pretty much a requirement now. Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah, that's probably the case. There's not too many of your Chuck Heston types, the sort of upstanding, citizen sort of things. And, somebody will probably have. Everybody has a problem with everything nowadays, so it's hard to get past. But I think in this case, Marty, you've got legitimate grievance here. But I mean, apparently, this man was spotted dumping his wife in an abandoned church in a bloody sheet, just like in the movie. And was the brother and sister were actually playing the license plate game, like where you take the first couple of initials, like those two are in the beginning, and that's how they were able to remember his license plate, because after they passed by, the car started trailing him, just like in the movie. And then it zoomed around them and went on ahead, but later they caught up with it, and they saw the man outside of his car, and he was changing his license plate. This is on YouTube. There's like a 10-minute video on this on YouTube that you can see. And he was changing his plates, but the sister had remembered the game that they were playing, and so because they happened to be playing that game, they sort of had a predisposition for remembering license plate numbers, and they were able to give the information to the police. So he borrowed from a real-life murderer. This guy's pretty dark, Victor Salva. He borrowed from a real-life murder or allegedly. He would neither confirm nor deny whether he had gotten the information or the premise for this movie from that case. But they actually have a segment from Unsolved Mysteries, the television show, and they sort of overlay that with the creeper, and it's like the exact same story.
Jesus. I had always gotten the opinion that he kind of cherry-picked elements, like the first part of the movie, which I think I enjoyed the most, was Steven Spielberg's Duel. I got vibes of Steven Spielberg's Duel with just this monstrous truck following them. And I think as the movie went on, you have something that's very like Duel. You have kind of your own atypical slasher, and then you have the supernatural horror, and it's like a lasagna. I don't know if this is a good way to describe it, but it's like a lasagna of horror genres. And it does the thing I liked about Predator and From Dusk Till Dawn. You think you're going in watching one particular type of movie or one genre movie. You think you're going in watching a combat movie, a fucking alien comes out of left field. You think you're watching a crime movie, the vampires come out. Same thing. You think you're watching a kind of regular run-of-the-mill slasher flick, and then you're like, it's a fucking demon or whatever the fuck it is. And that's something I didn't enjoy. It kept you on your toes. I think some of the juxtaposition didn't work as well as it could have, but I did like that. I did think it was refreshing.
I thought it was a great movie. I was talking to a buddy of mine, Bill. He was on the show last night, and he was saying he liked everything up until the last 15 minutes or so. And I was like, I think that, the police station is one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie.
It was very cool. The thing. I think there is a bit of disconnect between the three parts, though. But that's just me. Yeah.
No, but I mean, I thought that there were solid performances by Justin Long and I forgot the woman who plays his sister. That's terrible. But he was saying that Salvo was saying, I got about 30 minutes into the audio commentary, and he was saying that he cast Justin Long because all the other men who were like A-list stars who tried to cast for the role tried to play it cool, whereas Justin Long decided to take it from a perspective where he was constantly afraid. Like Justin Long doesn't play a tough guy in this movie.
No,
he doesn't
he's
play a cool guy.
That's what I like about Justin Long. Even in Drag Me to Hell, as the kind of skeptical boyfriend, he's still likable.
Yeah,
and that's what added to the jeopardy. I know it sounds shitty. I didn't really give much thought for the sister, but I was like, oh man, I hope nothing happens to Justin Long.
And that's also what makes it a little different there too, and that there's not a final girl.
No.
And in the end, I mean, and this keeps circling back and getting really dark based on what we know about Salva. He makes Justin Long the final target in the end. Yeah. Thereafter, it turns out he's after the boy because, I mean, we've seen shows, and I think Knight and lots of those other guys have done like your favorite final girl in all these movies, and I never thought about that much. Until I started doing these podcasts and looking at other people's content. But there is a recurring theme in horror where the girl is like the last one standing.
Like the sad thing is, if you didn't know about the director, you could be like, "Wow, that's really progressive," and then you're like,
This is like I don't know if art is imitating life or life is imitating art or what the fuck. One thing they did say was that initially the plan was for Lance Henriksen to be cast in the role of the Creeper, which
that would have been awesome.
I think that would have been really interesting to see his interpretation of what the Creeper would have been, but he ended up walking away from the role inevitably, and the guy who played, I forgot his name too. I didn't write it down.
Something Beck.
Richard Beck. Richard B. something or other. Yeah. Oh shit. Okay. I gotta start doing a little better research. You know what's happening lately? I was at this for like 5 months, 5.5 really, and I realized how much screen time I've been getting. So I've been trying to like pull back on all the damn screen time and like get outside some more and like do other things. So the past couple of weeks. Yeah, you're like, oh yeah. But like I gotta do that. So like I'm rationing my screen time and so that that's sort of off-putting, because I'm not around on social media all that much the past couple of weeks, this, that, and the other. But like I'm trying to balance things out a little bit, but I gotta do a little better research in the future for Jonathan. Here we go. Eric's here for us.
Thanks, Eric.
Jonathan Beck played the Creeper. Thanks, Eric. Yeah, you're right. In all three movies. Yeah. He's like the producer here or something. Jesus Christ. All right. So, but originally the idea was for Lance Henriksen to play the Creeper, and I think that would have been really interesting. Because he would have been, Lance Henriksen now was 82, 83, but he would have been, he would have been physically able, I think. Yeah, it would have been his 60s. Yeah, he would have been okay with that. So they see this thing or this person or, whatever they think it is, dumping a sheet after they catch up with this truck later and they see this thing dumping a bloody sheet down a pipe. And one of the things that Salva had said was that they shot that like 7 times of them the truck passing by and him dumping the sheet down the pipe. But what really stuck was the one time when he turns around and makes eye contact with them. And I thought that was a really effective scene, actually. If it had just been them driving by as he's throwing something down the pipe, that would have been okay. But the fact that he turns around and sees them, and now the brother and sister can see that they've been seen. Yeah, I think that makes for some really creepy shit. Like, there's a lot that's like, we're fucked. This guy just saw us do that, and he's like, he's staring hard. Like, he's not trying to hide. He's not flinching. He's just staring at you. Oh, really? You're gonna do that? Okay. I got something for you. All right, thank you, Eric. We appreciate it, man. That's why we keep
that. And your good looks, Eric. That and your good looks.
That is it. That beard. I shaved my beard recently too. I'm quite jealous now. I think I made a mistake, but we'll see. So from there, it's sort of this game of cat and mouse, where they spend the rest of the movie sort of running from this thing that is just eventually, they get into this restaurant, and it keeps the creep going, and then eventually some police officers get into it, but then I think what got me was when the people in the diner start to be convinced that he's telling the truth because somebody saw somebody out by the car sniffing laundry. That's just a creep. I'm trying to think of it. There's a huge olfactory component to this monster in that he sniffs. And go ahead.
Dude, my question to you is because again it caught me totally off. Had you any inclination that the antagonist was not human up until that point when you first saw this movie, or had you found out the twist?
I don't recall that I had heard anything about it, but I was under the impression that we were dealing with something that was not human. When he goes down into that house of pain and you see all those people stitched together.
Okay.
That kind of led me to believe that we were dealing with something that was not. This wasn't like a Hannibal Lecter serial killer, although he is a serial killer.
Yeah.
Type thing. Yeah, you were dealing with something, on the supernatural side of things. So that was my impression. And there's a bit of foreshadowing when they're at the cop car, and they're like, "How the hell did he catch up to us so fast?" And you hear that wing flap.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what you're listening for, now you've seen it. So I've seen it so many times.
You're like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah. And it's almost easy to dismiss.
I think, and again, this is me being a fucking nerd and going back. I think they should have maybe staggered the reveal of the creature a bit better. I'm not saying don't have. I like with Predator. Like first we get the infrared vision, then we get the shimmer, then we get the creature in the trees, then we get the reveal of the face. It is a cool reveal, especially when he takes those cops out there. But I think it should have been maybe push that shit to the last 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I don't know. What do you think?
Here was I can still remember my first impression. After he kills the cops and he's sitting in the squad car and he gets out of the car, and I distinctly remember looking at him and I'm like, that's it? Like that's what it is? It's like an old man or something like that. An old man looking whatever. But then the movie actually, I went from, like you said in the beginning, this really tense, sort of hour or 50 minutes going by, and then because it's only 90 minutes long.
Yeah.
And then you get to the reveal of what the creature is, and you're like, that's what they've been running from all this time. I'm like, that's disappointing. But then I distinctly remember being won over again. Because when they
tried running him over.
When they tried running him over, I was like, oh God, this is really bad. Like the movie's falling apart because he's like running on top of the hood, and then they try to do it again and he runs, and I'm like, oh, this is really gone bad. Because what had happened when they get to the house, and there was a great performance there by Eileen Brennan. And Eileen Brennan is somebody I hadn't seen in a very long time. She was sort of popular in America here in the 80s. And she's most popular. I think she won an Academy Award for a comedy that she was in, a military comedy called Private Benjamin with Goldie Hawn, who's Kurt Russell's wife.
Yeah.
I think his wife is in it. She plays like a socialite who somehow ends up in the military, and this woman is like her drill sergeant or something like that. So I hadn't seen her in many years, and the lighting and the shadows of that house with all the cats and everything. It's just really. I felt that was like really tense, and I probably was watching it at that time in the dark, and I didn't know what to expect, and I was like, wow, this is really tense, and yeah, I mean, then they try to run him over, and then they kill her. I mean, he kills the woman.
Like I love that scene as well, because if I was going to, I don't know if I would, but if I was going to recommend it to someone, I would say, okay, did you like Pumpkinhead with Lance Henriksen? There's something like a dark, surreal American fairy tale to this. Like with Pumpkinhead, there's like this kind of gothic, kind of like, even like out in the pumpkin patch with the scarecrow, there's something almost like a twisted, grim fairy tale. And that's what I would compare it to, and that's kind of like what won me over as well, dude.
No, Eric's absolutely right. I forgot she was in Clue. Yeah, she was awesome in Clue. Marty, have you seen Clue?
Yeah, is that the one with fucking Tim Curry and Christopher Lloyd? It's based on Cluedo. It's based on the board game.
Yeah, it's based on the board game, but that's just a masterful movie. I think it's like a perfect movie. I love that film. Oh man, Christopher Lloyd and Leslie Ann Warren and Colleen Camp, and everybody's in that movie. It's such a great movie. But from here it starts the roller coaster, because he kills the cops. You see the demon for what it is, the creeper, and I'm disappointed. And then we get back to the house, and there's a really dark setting with the cats and everything like that, and then the creeper kills Eileen Brennan, and then they try to run him over, and he's, running back and forth. And it's just seesawing between, this is stupid. I'm like, wow, this is really good. And then it becomes stupid again, at least for me. But then they get to the police station, and the movie ends up winning me over again. With, I guess, the final reveal. And the battle with the police officers. Yeah. I thought that I mean, it becomes, because you go from this, big open, field out in the country on the road, to this very claustrophobic sort of hallway fight that's going on. And, it starts off in that jail cell.
He's snacking on prisoners.
Yeah.
I think he had sustained so much damage. Yeah, that's something I liked. Salvo was clever in kind of like showing, not telling. Usually in other movies like this, to be like, oh, someone would open up a book. This is the creeper. No, he showed that this thing has to eat to reconstitute body parts. Yeah, and that was clever. That was like, there was no one like pulling out a book going, oh, this is what this creature does. It's just, it's show, don't tell.
And it's very ambiguous, even through to the end. You never really, even through 3 movies, you still don't really know what the creeper is.
Yeah.
There's no specificity. And I loved that they gave just enough for me to be freaked out with the psychic. With every 23 years for 23 days, it gets to eat. And that's like a horrifying premise. For like 3 weeks, this thing, once a generation, for like 3 weeks, this thing just goes on a tear, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it, which is really reinforced in the second movie.
I think I prefer the second movie more to this. It expands the lore a smidge, but also adds like some really cool fucking intensity to it as well.
Well, hold on. Who is the Jonathan Beck? And again, we're coming back to Salva again. Jonathan Beck had to perform like an olfactory sniff test, like to win the role. He had to go up and like sniff the casting directors and things like that, so they could see how he did it, because everything that this demon does is based on something that he can smell. You never find out exactly what it is, but there's something very specific that he's looking for when he can elicit your fear, and that's how he knows that your body parts are the right parts for him. And you can see that look on Justin Long's face, he's too paralyzed to fight. He is in constant flight mode this entire time. And I mean, both of them are. And I think that's part of also what wins me over. There's never really any chance that you have against him, this thing. There's a bit more of a fight in the second movie, which I appreciated. From the kids and then the adults, and people are a little more prepared.
I think with the other one as well, it was a case of, and I don't know, Taggart injures it to the point that it gets worn down and like it has to go back into hibernation.
It runs out of time.
It isn't really defeated. He just knackered it up enough that it has to go back into sleep because it's so damaged.
Yeah. And Eric says, I love the Creeper's underground lair dumping site. Yeah, all the bodies sewn together. So he's a demon, but he's also a full-on serial killer. And he's been killing people for generations now. Every 23 years, however many people he can kill, and then he takes what he needs from you. It's a very brutal scene down there in that house of pain where he's extracted whatever from those people and then sewn them back together and then added them to this huge tapestry. That's pretty awful. It's pretty awful. So, I mean, it's seesawed back and forth, but then by the time you get to the final reveal with the wings and with this, I was won over again. That freaked me out bad. Like, I didn't see that coming. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And then it just flies off with Justin Long, and there's just so much despair. Like, I just felt that it was just, I mean, she's running after her brother, but her brother is literally flying away.
And there's nothing she can do. Absolutely
nothing that anybody can do. The police aren't shooting. The police are freaked out. And they look like they were too scared to shoot. And it's awful. It's an awful feeling. I watched it yesterday, and when she's running after her brother again, she looks like she's just running so slowly.
I like the thing I like about it is this creature is so fucking lethal. Like on the prior 23 years, did it ever even have to reveal that form? Because this is under serious circumstances that it had to like fucking expose its wings and its face and stuff. This thing, if it hadn't bumped into him, it could have just been driving around fucking killing who knows what and wouldn't have to have kind of revealed its kind of.
That's also a sign of its determination, because I mean it could have just moved on to someone else.
Yeah.
But it wasn't doing that. I mean, he was able to walk into that police station and take what he wanted from those armed police officers, and in the end, the Creeper wins. The Creeper wins in the end.
Like I definitely enjoy aspects of this movie. I do think that a more kind of restrained director, or a more stylistically inclined director, say like Del Toro, could have done the transitions from serial killer creeper to monster creeper to demon creeper a bit better. That's my kind of.
Yeah, I mean, this guy is not Del Toro. Nobody's Del Toro. You're not going to be able to, to emulate that much style. The twist ending was pretty good with the psychic telling Derry to be careful. Yeah, it's playing on the radio. It's playing when it's too late for him. Yeah, and that's the one thing about this psychic. She seems to have all the information, but it's like of no use. It's of no use to them whatsoever. They can't apply it to save themselves at all. And most of what she sees happens past the point where it's, applicable. It's too late. Now, there's an alternate ending there, supposedly, where Derry sacrifices himself in a car crash to try to kill the Creeper, but he's unsuccessful. But they ended up going with this. My understanding was the studio at some point withdrew $1 million from the budget. And so Salva had to adjust the script into what we had. I think he had another week's worth of filming that he wanted to add to this movie. But they ended up having budget constraints at the last second, and we ended up getting what we got. which I still think is a very solid movie. But I would have been interested to see. I don't think anybody's going to be calling for the Salva cut, but I think it would. I think it would have been interesting to see what else he had in mind. You didn't seem to.
Oh, sorry, dude. What?
No. Go ahead.
I know. I think the aspect I do like is this is like some kind of weird Americana kind of grim fairy tale. Just like, again, going back to Pumpkinhead, you have people out in the middle of Podung nowhere, city folks, and they encounter. It's not a serial killer. It's like something out of it's like something out of a dark fairy tale that they don't really know. And and the ending is ambiguous. Again, I say, if I was to recommend this thing, I'd be like, did you like Pumpkinhead? If you like Pumpkinhead, watch this. That's kind of my approach.
I haven't met anyone who's a horror fan that's seen it and not liked it. Now, I don't know. I know people who've seen it and said, it's not the greatest thing I've ever seen, but I haven't spoken to anyone who hasn't enjoyed it.
I don't hate the movie. I think my view on the movie is partially skewed because of that individual. But I do think that like the reveals are cool and the kind of the lasagna of horror genres works really well. I just think the transition could have been done better. But as you said, it's not Del Toro and it's 90 minutes. You only can do so much.
Yeah, I mean, the script is actually pretty lean. There's nothing I would have trimmed out of there or said was unnecessary. Well, what would have been unnecessary was that scene where he's jumping over the car. That I could have lived without.
That was like something out of a Michael Jackson music video.
Yeah, and I was like, that's where you get to the seesaw, like getting out of the car. Okay, then it sort of drops because I was disappointed by the reveal. They get to Eileen Brennan's house, and then it builds back up again, and then he starts jumping over the car, and then it drops down again. Then it gets to the police, and we reach the climax of the action. And, ultimately I was won over. But, I mean, even watching it yesterday to prepare for the episode, I was like, oh, God, I forgot he was going to jump all over the car like this. I'm like, oh, this is really bad. It's like those old Run Shaw movies from the 70s. Oh, awful.
There's fun to be had with this movie. If you come across it secondhand, maybe pick it up.
You can buy I think you can buy both of them new on Amazon in a DVD box set for like $5. I'd
be afraid he'd get the money somehow though. I would never try. No, I'm serious, dude.
That's fair. That's fair. That's the way you feel. It's not a big deal. Yeah, that's fine. The second movie, like you said, it might be better. But the third movie is just a train wreck.
Oh fuck yeah! It looks so cheap.
Yeah,
I watched it. I watched it through gritted teeth.
I was very much looking forward to it, and I was like, "What the hell is this?"
And they tried putting in humor. They tried putting in really quirky humor with like one of the guys I think one of them are pissing on the van, and they get stuck to the van, and it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's really bad. So it's not worth it. But then they're doing a reboot, which has nothing to do with him. Totally new director, my understanding is. And, I guess we'll see how that plays out from there. And it's either later this year or next year.
Yeah, there's potential there. And again, I do like these kind of weird, quirky kind of horror fairy tales that are like that there needs to be more of them. There needs, because it's just cool. Just that you're out in the middle of nowhere and you encounter this thing that's kind of part of the folklore of the area. I always have, coming from Ireland, I always have like a spot for things like weird kind of monsters or demons and stuff, that you don't go down this track of land, or you don't go into that field, or you don't go down that road. I like that.
There's quite a bit of good horror coming out of Ireland, isn't there? I mean, you've got movies like the. Go ahead.
What?
Go ahead.
No, go on.
I saw a couple of films. I think one was called The Devil's Doorway off of IFC.
That one's good. If The Hollow. If you go check it out, if you wanted a Leprechaun movie that's not fucking silly or that's a lot closer to folklore, watch The Hollow, because it's a representation of what the fairy folk or the little people are supposed to be like, and they're very vicious.
Do me a favor, DM me some titles.
I will.
I would definitely love to check that out.
That and Hole in the Ground. Hole in the Ground was fucking awesome. A lot more people need to see that movie.
Okay. There's a couple of other titles, but I can't think of them off the top of my head. And then that one Knight and I did, but that was I think that was in Wales. A Dark Song.
I have not seen that one.
Man, you got to see it. It's so good.
Well, we do good fucking horror comedy as well. I think the best one. Have you seen Grabbers?
No.
Okay, imagine Tremors set in Ireland, and that's all.
Oh God. Okay. I love that first movie. That first movie is just an all-time favorite. I'll watch that like anytime it's on.
Very much the premises and a kind of creature comes down from space and it attacks a small island off the coast of Ireland. But the Irish have one tin up their sleeve. This tin is allergic to alcohol.
Well, then they're yeah, all right. So they're in trouble. Okay. All right, hold on. Eric says he still needs to see The Void.
Oh, that's a fucking class movie.
That's awesome. A recent movie, isn't it?
Yeah. Jeremy Gillespie. It is a throwback to kind of body, kind of Lovecraftian horror of the 80s. Yeah, like from Hellraiser to In the Bout of Madness to The Beyond or From Beyond.
Okay.
It's an absolutely awesome flick, and it's another one that needs to be checked out.
Okay. I saw that in another reference. It was on Twitter. I can't remember who posted it. Maybe it was you. Okay, so I'll have to check that out too.
Oh, it's awesome. It kicks ass.
Well, you think this is an okay place to end on?
Yeah, I like, again, I think one other thing is I always try and do, I don't like to shit on a movie totally just because the director done something fucking shitty, absolutely shitty, which what he done was absolutely deplorable. But you also have to keep in mind as well, there was great actors in this movie, great production staff, creature design was cool. I will say, if you're going to watch it, maybe get it on the cheap, get it second hand, maybe get it on a streaming service that he doesn't directly get money from, and watch it, because there are some fantastic performances in it. Yeah. I have some issues with the plot, but it's a fun. There's a fun time to be had.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good place to wrap it up. Tell them where they can find if somebody's catching this on the replay or whatever, and they're seeing it for the first time. Where can they find some of your content?
I am on here. I'm on YouTube, The Trash Picture Show. I'm also on Twitter. I think I annoy everyone on Twitter. I probably
not at all. Like, not at all.
Jesus Christ, this fucker's tweeting again. But yeah, no. I do. I need to up my game with movie reviews. I'm doing a lot of figure reviews on streaming. I need to change that. Just getting motivated to watch movies lately. I find it hard sometimes.
Let me know about Predator or Predators, Eric. Thanks, man. Eric, we always appreciate you being here, man. Much appreciated. And I hope you, like I said again, I hope you get your live stream going back soon. I'm interested to see what movies you're going to cover. I have moved to, I think, 3 episodes a week, and I'm trying to keep them all in the live stream, but I'm willing to do an upload if necessary. Wednesday, Thursday, and then at least once a weekend I'll be doing that Something Shitty This Way Comes. So, yeah, I'll have that coming up soon. So, thanks again, brother. And we got to do it again soon.
For fact, definitely.
All right, man. Hold on. Don't take off. Hold on. Wait, Eric's got another one. Hold on. Live streams. Okay, a week from this Saturday night. All right. Well, that's good news. Yeah, we'll be there. All right. Yeah, don't take off. Have a good one, everybody.